Hey, thanks for joining. Today's guest is Church of Disgust. How are you doing, guys?
Doing great.
Awesome.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Working for a living, which sucks, but shit happens. Let's just, because the names don't show up, let's just discuss who everybody is and what you do.
I am Dwane Allen, and I play drums in the band and sometimes record the music.
I'm Josh Bokemeyer. I play guitar.
Awesome. I'm Dustin James. Do guitar and vocals.
Okay. Since you mentioned it, let's divert from what I was going to talk about and just talk about the fact that you record all your own stuff. I think that's becoming more popular now as like digital audio workstations are the norm. But I guess talk a little bit about how you got into recording, if you've recorded anybody else, and what your experiences with that are.
Josh?
I've been trying to record for a long time, mostly just liking gear, buying and selling all my stuff. But I've worked with some other bands. I recorded a more Bosedod split. I've recorded a bunch of Houston punk and hardcore demos. I tracked some solos for Cemetery and a new band that I think we're label mates with.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that that not what I did. They self-released their demo, but I think their new stuff is going to be coming out around the same time as us. But Dwane and I have been going DIY since we started recording ourselves in the band.
Cool.
And now Dustin's on a kick too. So we're all learning. Every record is pushing it a little bit further.
What software do you use, if you don't mind me asking?
I use Logic.
Okay.
And well, he uses Logic, but I think all the stuff that we've done together has been with Pro Tools.
Okay.
But I'm trying to get everyone on Reaper, so we all have like the same dog going on. But I haven't recorded anything with Reaper yet, but I'm excited to.
Cool. I guess let's talk about the 2020 EP came out on Maggot Stomp, Consumed by Slow Putrefaction. It's only 3 songs, but it fucking sounds really good. It's going to be your only release with Maggot Stomp, correct?
Yeah.
They did the vinyl version of our 2016 album, Veneration of Filth. But yeah, other than that, we're grateful to have worked with them. But right now we're with Hell's Headbangers, which we're pretty thrilled about.
Okay, and you have not released anything with them, but you do have something recorded.
Right. Yeah, they signed us. We recorded this album for them. It's in the can. It's just got to go through mastering, waiting on a couple of guest contributions, and then hopefully get it out there soon.
Okay. Are you mastering with the same guy, or I knew there was a guy in Finland that you were working with. I assume that you're still using the same guy?
Yeah.
Yes. Yanni Loikas. Yanni, if you're watching this and I'm saying your name wrong, I'm eternally sorry. But yeah, we've worked with him since the album in 2016, and we really like his work and want to keep that working relationship.
So I think there's a story there that you had to track this guy down because you liked his work on some other stuff.
Yeah, one of probably my favorite modern death metal band. They're defunct now, but Slugathor from Finland. Like real heavy stuff, kind of ahead of the curve in terms of like just the really crushingly heavy death metal that's so popular now. Like if they came out now, they'd be the biggest band around. But he did their album, or he did multiple releases for them, but he did the Circle of Death album, which I really liked. And he wanted to, I couldn't find him on the internet. So I actually had to get his contact info from one of the Slugathor guys. So
And obviously
little bit of a hunt. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just said, I guess you just discussed rates and he was good with it.
Yeah. Like I mentioned specifically his work with Slugathor. I mean, he worked with other bands too, but it was that really drew us in. And he liked what we were doing. So yeah, we built a working relationship from there. And that was back late 2015 when we first got in contact, and we've done every release with them since.
Oh, hold on. We got another guest coming in.
That would be our bass player.
Okay. Well, we had Travis trying to join us. That didn't work out so good. So we're just going to continue on where we left off, which I think was the 3-song EP that you guys did with Maggot Stomp. I don't know how much that figured into getting the deal with Hell's Hellbangers, Headbangers. But I assume that all this stuff helps. I mean, Maggot Stomp is a really cool, innovative label, so I'm assuming that only like gets your name out there more.
Definitely, I think so.
I'd been bugging Hell's Headbangers for years. I would actually send snail mail to their address, and this time I sent copies of the new EP on all formats. And this time Chase from Hell's Headbangers actually replied. It's like, yeah, we'd love to sign you guys. We've been watching you for a while. Like, okay, cool. But yeah, I sent him a package with all this stuff in it. Multiple copies, sent him like a toe tag attached to it and shit, like a dead body.
So that's all unsolicited stuff then. I always feel like the unsolicited stuff that you send to record labels just winds up in a big pile somewhere. But for you guys,
it probably does.
I'm sure it does. But I mean, for you guys, it worked out.
Yeah, this time it did. Back when we started, when we did the first demo, I fired that tape off to so many different labels and got like nothing back until finally a label from Spain hit us up. But that was back in like 2012.
Okay, but you're doing that all snail mail, because email was in full effect at that point.
I was, but I liked the charm of it, I guess. And like listening to something on YouTube is awesome. But opening a package, looking at it in your hand, that's a good feeling. So I kind of try to keep that spirit alive. It's so easy though with the convenience nowadays with Bandcamp and everything. So I mean, we're primarily about that. But back when we were starting out, I was definitely sending out a lot of packages, getting like people together with trades and stuff from other bands. So I did make some cool connections. But yeah, it's definitely an outdated business model, if such a thing exists in death metal.
Okay, so the new album, you said it's in the can. We were talking about the guy who had recorded Slugathor. I caught the name of the album from another interview, but why don't you just say what it is?
One of you guys want to do it? I feel like I've been talking there you go.
Weakest is the flesh.
And how many songs do you guys got coming out on that?
8.
8 songs, all. Go ahead.
8 songs with some little extras here and there.
Okay, a couple questions about veneration of the flesh. First off, I was asking Josh what that means, and I think he wanted to wait for you to come on and give your take on the album name of that one.
You talking about the last one, Veneration of Filth?
Yes.
Yeah. That one, that it just kind of described our sound. It described the art. Just filthy, heavy, disgusting. And to venerate is to like worship or hold it in high regard. And that
Okay.
was like the whole objective of that album is just to create some gross shit. That's kind of what we gave the cover artist Putrid Matt free reign to do with the cover too. We're like, we just want something swampy and something gross. So, you know, I think from the title to the music to the art, it's all about the filthy, gross death metal. So,
Yeah, it's funny.
nothing.
I've seen you were saying on again on another interview about how that's become an overused term, the filthy thing. But I do like also to describe music like that. You know, I remember I used to have an old amp that was like half busted, and sometimes it would just make the most disgusting noises. And you know, one of the guys I was playing with would be like, "Oh, that's gross. It's fantastic." And then the other one was like, "Ew, why would you ever want to do that?" And I'm like, because it's because that's what it is. It's like,
Oh yeah, no, we definitely still love the sentiment of you know, things being filthy, but it just felt like every review, you know, the music people reviewing just kind of got stuck on the same buzzwords. Like every release on $20 Spin was filthy, disgusting, crushing. Like there's more to it than that. Sometimes it's all just surface level bullshit, but that was my stance.
no, yeah, I could see though that where, you know, that it would just gets to be a little bit much, especially when you're using it for bands that it doesn't apply really.
Right.
I think on Veneration there were some guest spots, so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I wasn't super familiar with too many of the bands, but I assume that there are a lot of like your friends and people that you've corresponded with, so I guess let's just talk about some of the guest spots on that album.
Okay. Y'all want to take this?
Yeah, well, one of them was Jamie Stewart. He's one of my friends. We go back like all the way to like high school. He's in The Absence. And I was living with him, and we definitely wanted him to do some vocals, so we had him do a part. And then Mike Browning from Nocturnus, Morbid Angel, he did vocals on the last song. That was interesting because I was like, man, Mike's coming over. You know, I'm going to be tracking his vocals, and I was kind of nervous, and I set up the whole vocal booth, and I got it all ready. He came over, and I was ready to just dig in, and he did all of that in one take. We were like done in 15 minutes, like tops. And I was like, oh, all right. And he was out. I was like, okay, see you later, man. Thanks.
Well, at least you didn't feel bad then, right?
No, he nailed it. It was awesome. And yeah, he was out of there. So it was no time wasted.
And then there was another one from an Australian band, yes?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was our dear friend Toby, who played in the band Suicide, who did break up. A couple of the guys went on to do Gutless, who were on Maggot Stomp.
Okay.
But he did that. We did some shows with them when we were recording Veneration in Florida, and they actually stayed over at Dwane's house. But yeah, that was a great band that broke up too soon. Really cool guy, really cool vocal style. So it was really, it meant a lot getting him on there. So love you, Toby, wherever you are.
Cool. And I guess let's just talk about the Florida-Texas connection, because I believe that two of you guys live in Texas and two of you live in Florida. And that sounds like it's problematic, but you guys make it work.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. We share the Gulf Coast, so we're Gulf Coast death metal, but
Okay.
a lot of file sharing.
Yeah, that's it's really helped and pushed the recording at home thing.
Yeah.
Dustin and I, we started playing together in 2012 when we were both living in San Marcos. And that's when it all kind of started to happen. And We didn't play any shows at that time, but Dustin and I did the first 2 releases in a house I was living in out in the boonies in San Marcos, and it all kind of started from there. And then when Dustin moved to Florida, met Dwane, and that totally changed the band, because before I played drums on the first 2 releases, and I'm not a drummer, but we really wanted to play some death metal, and we were just hungry to play, and we did what we could, and that was just a really funny time because I'm not a good drummer. We didn't really know what we were doing with recording. We were just going for it.
And it's some of the filthiest stuff.
I guess.
For better or worse.
For better or worse, definitely.
Do you guys, because with swapping files, I would think it would help to have a click track and stuff. Do you guys do click track, or do you start with the drum? Like, how would you do that?
We do now. We didn't before.
Okay. So that helped maybe.
Oh yeah. Like, we've gotten better as musicians and with the whole recording thing. And it's cool because you can hear the band develop. If you listen to the demo and Unworldly Summoning, it's a night and day difference from what we're doing now, which that is a treasure in its own way, but we're starting to sound like a band, and the click tracks really help, and it's just helping us tighten up.
Yeah, with Veneration, we didn't practice for the click track, so we didn't have any tempos. We didn't know the tempos or time signatures or anything like that. But I remember, like, as soon as we started recording, we figured it out on the spot. And then, like, the first riff, we would have the click track. And then once it changed, then we just winged it. So, like, half those songs at Veneration, there's a click track in the beginning. And, like, when the time changes, then, like, there's no click track. So we definitely didn't know what we were doing then.
Yeah. Or for, like, the doomy parts, we would try to use a click track. The way we get to blasting, we're like, damn, I didn't even know tempo maps existed when we were doing that. So we're just like, well, we can't blast to this tempo, so let's just go.
Yeah. But with Consumed, we did all 3 of those songs were to a tempo map, to a click track. Okay. And that made it way easier for the file sharing, because Josh and Travis actually recorded their stuff in Texas for that EP. And, Veneration, they were here for Florida. They're here in Florida to record, and the new one, they came to Florida to record, but the EP, we did it separately.
Yeah, it's worth noting on this new album, Weakest is the Flesh, Hell's Headbangers actually put us up. We rented a house out in the swamp in Florida, this little town outside this little town called Floral City. It's like a house like right on the water, where we had isolation. We brought in a U-Haul full of gear and recorded the album there. It was a really, really fun experience.
No cell phone service, just music for a week straight.
That's cool. Do you get to, like, feed the alligators and stuff?
There were signs prohibiting it.
Oh, okay.
But they were out there. We could hear them, but
they were lurking.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned waiting for guest spots for the new album. How many do you have, and is there anybody that you can talk about?
Yeah. We can definitely talk about it. We didn't do too many this go around. We again got our buddy Jamie from the Absence and Hot Graves. He did a vocal spot on one of the songs that came out really cool. Just because he's a great friend of the band, and he's got a really awesome vocal style that I think complements the music and isn't too samey with my vocals. So he did a little spot. We also got David from Imprecation, which is a Texas band that was, really influential when I was coming up. And they're just a legendary old Texas band. So it was really cool for us to get him on there doing a vocal spot. And then finally, our friend Wyatt from the band Steel Bearing Hand from Texas. He's also doing guitar solo on one of the songs. I had to get him because I think he's one of the best shredders in Texas. I don't know anyone better than that dude. And they put out a really killer album this year. So they deserve everyone's support. Anyone watching that who hasn't heard Steel Bearing Hand, check out Slay in Hell. It's really ripping death thrash.
It rips.
Yeah. So just those three. I wanted to keep us the primary focus, but always fun to get some other flavors in there.
For doing shows, obviously, if you don't live in the same state, that's got to be rough. Obviously, non-issue with the pandemic and stuff. But shows are coming back. I think you're going to Mexico at some point.
Yes. Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been trying to get there for a while, but it kept getting put off because of the pandemic. But yeah, we're doing that Total Death over Mexico Fest in next summer, which should be really cool. Right now, that's really all we've got booked. I'm sure when the album's ready, we'll hopefully get some more offers and we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, we haven't played since we played with Deceased in Texas in late 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did a tour with Cemetery Filth.
We did. Yeah, that was in 2018. We went up the East Coast with them, and that was a really fun run. That's a great group of people. So always fun to link up with them. And that was our first time touring the East Coast as a band. So we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was probably one of our best runs.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
Any notable shows or happenings on that tour?
Maybe when we drove through New York City.
Oh yeah.
Well, we were on a whole diners, drives, and dives mission as soon as we pulled into New York. So we went
Brooklyn.
in Brooklyn, we had 3 different pieces of pizza, and then we were leaving, and it's sunny, and all of a sudden it starts flash flooding. And being in Houston, it was like post Harvey time, so I was a little sensitive to flooding. And we're in the van, and it's probably over 2 feet of water.
Hey.
And it's out of nowhere within 10 minutes. And I had never been to New York City or anywhere in the East Coast. So it was just, it was crazy. And we were worried it was going to creep into the van. We were seeing little cars in front of us die out, and trash floating like as if it was a river of, and it was just wild. It was so quick. And it was a way to see the city.
Out of the middle of nowhere too, in the middle of the day. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. I'm from Jersey. I spent some time in Manhattan. I don't spend a ton of time in Brooklyn, but you'd have to think with that much, even with the city like that, there's nowhere for the water to go, right? So
yeah, there wasn't.
Yeah. And show wise, we played a lot of cool shows, but probably the most notable one was Detroit. The crowd was actually like really violent, and the dude who did art for us, Caleb, got his face busted open.
Okay.
So he's fine. That dude's a maniac. But but yeah, that was probably a notable show. I'd love to come back and play there because that crowd really went wild.
You had another person from another band do an early logo of yours. But I'm not. Is it still the same one you're using? Dude from Undergangs.
Yeah. I drew our first shitty logo on the first demo. But ever since then, from the second demo onward, we've been using David's logo that he drew for us. So yeah, we've been using that same logo that he did for a while now. We talked about changing, but it's pretty fitting.
Yeah, no, why would you change? I don't know. I always find it weird when bands change their logo at every album. I figure you want some branding. I'm not sure why you wouldn't want that. So
Rush did that. Every album cover has got a different logo.
different. I don't
Well, in
know.
the 90s too, when a bunch of those bands tried to go mainstream, you could usually tell when a band went from like a sick illegible logo to like a plain block text logo. You knew there's like a 95% chance the album was going to be bullshit.
I could see that. I definitely could see that.
There are exceptions, of course, but the sentiment's there.
I got a note here to ask about one of the sound bites on Plague of Punishment. I think it's like some woman screaming, no one will hear you scream stuff. And usually I'm pretty good about picking up the horror sound bites, but I wasn't sure where that one came from.
That's actually an old one called Messiah of Evil. So yeah, that's what that one's from.
Is that 70s or what's old to you?
70s, yeah. Oh shit. When is
that? You guys got the artwork for
73? Shit.
70. Oh, you're looking it up as we speak.
Yeah, it's 73.
Okay. Do you have the artwork all set up for the new album?
Yes. The art is ready to go.
And what format is the new? Are they going to do? Is it everything cassette, CD, vinyl?
Yeah, they're doing all formats, CD, cassette, vinyl. So it'll be all out there.
I know there was some Cannibal Corpse connection. I guess you want to touch upon that for a second because I thought that was kind of interesting. Something I picked up on the interwebs.
Oh, with our band?
Yeah, I think it was with you specifically, actually, helping them out with making tempo stuff for one of their albums.
Yeah, I've been friends with Rob Bear for like almost 20 years, I would say. And he, they do, demos and scratch guitars and stuff. So he needs help every once in a while because when he writes riffs, they're kind of like Dustin, that every riff is a different tempo. So you have to do a tempo map for that. You can't just do one click track. You have to kind of break it up. So I've actually helped them all the way back to the Torture album. I've done Rob's scratch guitars for all the records up until the most recent one, and maybe even something else. And actually, Red Before Black, I even demoed the drums and everything. It was a blast. I was really involved with that one. It was really fun. But that's about it. They're all around. All the elders dwell in Tampa, so they're all out here. And I know those guys and Paul and Pat. And I work at Dean and D Drum now, so Chris Carnella, the guitar player for Deicide's there, and they're all around. So you see those guys. They're actually playing tonight. They're kicking off their tour tonight at the Orpheum. I heard that everyone's got to wear a mask now. I don't know how that's going to work, but like the audience all have to wear a mask at the show. And I just don't see how that's going to go.
I feel like that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they're going to
get down. But, yeah, so, I've helped them out. It's been fun. I've learned a lot. Got to, work with Eric Rutan. He's a friend of mine. So, and, I'll do the click track and I'll give it to Paul so Paul can rehearse the songs. And then I have to send a whole Pro Tools session to Eric Rutan because he uses that to demo out the songs for the new records. So it's been fun. I've learned a lot from those guys.
So do you end up using similar processes then for what you're doing with Church of Disgust?
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I learned how to do click tracks for our band.
Okay, so it's not even just a MIDI file, it's like a whole Pro Tools tempo map, as you were saying.
Tempo map, scratch guitars, and then just the click track, because Paul, he plays live, he plays to a click track. So, and I think he uses the actual click tracks that I made him. So yeah, you give him a scratch guitar with the click track so he can rehearse to that. And then you give him just the click track so he can play with the band.
Do you guys got to set up where you're using, like, do you guys play live to a click track too?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I've seen some bands hook up their live show to video and lighting, and I always find that like to be super interesting. But I mean, it's a give and take because you're playing to a click track. I'm sure that's not going to be super fun to do as a musician, but then you get to do all these audio visual, things that are kind of cool that make up for it, I would think.
Yeah, usually bands that do all that have a crew. We're 4 guys in a van, we barely get our gear on the stage, let alone set up, click tracks and audio, video, it would be crazy. We would never get it right.
I think we've had an intro before.
Yeah.
An intro.
Yeah.
I think we fucked up a smoke machine live, so.
Oh yeah.
So I think that might be a little out of our depth.
Yeah.
We'll let the audience do all the smoking.
And just, I guess a little bit more into the songwriting process. So if you're doing all your stuff, swapping over the internet, I'm sure there's a lot of people sort of interested in doing that type of thing, especially now with the pandemic. So I guess just talk a little bit about who sort of starts it off and at what point you get serious with, laying out the tempos. And I assume you're all running the same software. I know you mentioned Pro Tools, and I think Reaper was the other one of them.
Yeah, none of us are on the same software.
Okay, so that's got to suck though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we just send raw MP3s, and we pretty much do everything together. Like we send iPhone recordings to each other, work out riffs, add to them, pull from them, and Dwane and I have flown back for this album. He came down to Houston for a week, and I flew down to Tampa. So there's been some plenty of full jams, and that's when we did some of the scratch tracks, and we'll kind of just build from a small raw file, sending it back and forth. And Dwayne's he's the Mac daddy on putting them all together when we send him the waves.
Yeah.
Any DAW you use, you're still exporting a wave
file. Yeah.
So we kind of just do what we want, because I'm using a iMac from 2009. I got off the internet for $60.
Okay.
And it works. And it still has Firewire, so I'm just using all outdated stuff. And I don't really want to change anything, because then my whole setup has to change, and we're all just at kind of different points with our gear. And
yeah, I mean, the suckiest thing with those things, and I've set up a couple digital audio workstations myself, is just getting it set up. Like that, yeah. It always seems like that's 90% of the work, And to your point, when I've got one set it up, I never want to let it go, because it's like it's finally working.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that old saying: if it's not broke, don't.
If it's not broke, yeah. And then the other thing is my other bit of advice I always give people is, if you don't hook your computer up to the internet, you don't have to worry about all the fucking malware and shit that comes on it. Like I've got computers from 10 years ago that are smoking fast, but I would never like go to a shitty website, or let my kids download free games on it,
Yeah. I can't update my MacBook ever again unless I want to get all new gear, because it's just the way it's all set up. If I were to do an update, like a new iOS or something, everything would be obsolete, and I would just be sitting here with nothing.
So do you then avoid the internet with that computer, I would assume? Or
yeah, I stay logged off, and then when I have to email something, I turn on the Wi-Fi, I email it, and then I turn it back off. That's the only way I can use that computer.
I guess it's last couple of questions, or maybe even last question. Church of Disgust. Where does that come from exactly?
Hell,
Originally, we got it from a Nunslaughter song. We're big fans of that band. Me and the guy who initially started the band, our friend Tim, actually came up with the idea. Just thought, we're not like musically, we're miles away from Nunslaughter, but we felt that it really fit what we were trying to convey with the band. Just disgusting death metal, pretty unpolished and straightforward. Just kind of no frills, gross shit. So,
And then,
Church of Disgust.
There you go. And then I guess just one last question about the lyrical content. I know you've talked about H.P. Lovecraft and I guess Brian Keene, who I'm not too familiar with, but I guess get into some of that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely the usual suspect. I know Lovecraft's been picked pretty clean from Metallica to Morbid Angel. So there's still some of that in there, but a lot of it, like you mentioned, comes from the work of Brian Keene. He's my favorite modern horror author. He just writes really over the top violent stuff. Kind of touches on some of the Lovecraft mystique, but he's built his own mythos around it, called the Mythos of the 13. But I highly recommend anyone into horror to check out his work. My favorite book personally is The Darkness Over Town. Darkness at the Edge of Town, excuse me. So please check out his stuff. He's also got a new book out called Suburban Gothic. And he actually mentioned us in there because I've been sending him snail mail too.
Oh,
So I've punished him as well. So
anything else you want to plug before we wrap it up? Maybe other projects or bands that we might not have heard of that you just love.
that would be you, Josh.
Yeah, I play in another death metal band, Malignant Altar, and our LP is finally about to come out on Dark Descent. Should be out sometime in October, maybe November. Everything kept getting pushed back, but it's concrete that it's happening before 2020 is over.
And you've got prior stuff that we can check out on Bandcamp?
Yeah, the demo's out. Maggot Stomp actually put that out as well.
Oh, cool. Okay,
And,
so I'll put links to that in the description. Everybody can go and check it out, and I'll put a note to it. So I usually include lots of links in the description. So always inviting everybody to come and check out more stuff and hopefully cross-pollinate everything. Super important.
All right.
And that's it.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I wish Eric was here, my normal co-host, but some of us got to work.
We wish Travis was here.
Yeah, I got to figure out how that editing stuff is going to go where we're, but yeah, I don't know. He had audio problems, I guess. But yeah, no, I super appreciate you coming on, and I'll keep up with you guys, and whenever you got new stuff, I'll put links on our Facebook page and stuff. And
appreciate it.
Cool. Okay, that's it. See everybody later.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.